We've all been there, right? You're just driving along, minding your own business, and then, boom, that little orange light pops up on the dash. The dreaded check engine light. And your heart just sinks a little bit. It could be anything, a loose gas cap or, something major. Well, today, we're going to demystify one of the most common and honestly one of the most confusing codes that can trigger it, the P0700.
So you plug in a scanner, and it spits out P0700. What does that even mean? Well, here's the interesting part. The P0700 code isn't actually telling you what's wrong. Not directly, anyway. Think of it more like a clue, the very first breadcrumb in an investigation into what's going on with your car's transmission.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really get what the P0700 is all about, you've got to think of it as a gateway code. See, it's not the problem itself. It's a communication, a signal that's being sent from one part of your car's brain to another. Your car has a couple of different computers we need to talk about. There's the engine control module, the ECM, and the transmission control module, or TCM. The P0700 code is just the TCM tapping the ECM on the shoulder and saying, hey, I've got a problem over here in my department. You need to turn on that check engine light and let the driver know. So it's the messenger, not the actual message.
And this is a perfect way to think about it. The P0700 code is like a signal flare that's been shot up into the sky. It tells you exactly where to look, over there, at the transmission, but it doesn't tell you if the emergency is a tiny campfire or a whole burning building. Our job now is to find the source of that flare.
So how do we find the real problem then? Well, this is where having the right tool for the job becomes absolutely essential. Because as we're about to see, not all code readers are created equal. And for this particular job, that difference means everything.
Now, pay close attention, because this is a crucial distinction. A basic, cheap little scanner that you might have in your glove box, it can only talk to the engine control module. So it sees that P0700 signal flare, but it has no idea where the fire is. An advanced diagnostic scanner, on the other hand, can go way deeper. It's built to communicate directly with the transmission control module, which lets it pull the specific, secondary codes that actually pinpoint the problem.
But hold on, before we even get into all the specific codes, there's a simple, really important first step that pretty much anyone can take. It's the most common cause, and it's by far the easiest thing to check. So let's peel back that first layer of our diagnostic onion.
And yep, we're talking about your transmission fluid. Most cars still have a dipstick for this. Just make sure the engine's warm and you're in park, then pull it out and check the level. But just as important, maybe even more important, is to check the condition. What color is it? How does it smell? These are absolutely vital clues.
And this is exactly what you're looking for. Healthy fluid, it's going to have that nice reddish or pinkish color. But if the fluid on your dipstick is dark brown or even black, and especially if it has that distinct burnt smell, that is a major red flag. That smell tells you the fluid has overheated, which probably means there's some serious friction from an internal problem.
And hey, one important heads up, especially if you've got an older, high-mileage car. If that fluid has never been changed, doing a full flush with all new fluid can sometimes knock loose some gunk and actually cause new problems. In those cases, some mechanics might just suggest changing the filter and only replacing some of the fluid. It's just something to be aware of.
All right, so let's say your fluid is okay. What's the next layer? Well, now we get to where those specific codes from our advanced scanner come in. They often point us toward faulty little electronic parts, like sensors or solenoids.
And these kinds of failures often cause symptoms you can actually feel when you're driving. Like, is your engine revving way up, but the car's not really accelerating? That's slipping. Does it slam into gear, or maybe take forever to engage drive? Or maybe it feels like it's just stuck in one gear. That's what they call limp mode. These are all classic signs of a transmission problem.
So here's a perfect example. Let's say your advanced scanner pulls a P0721 code right alongside that P0700. Well, that code points directly to a problem with the output speed sensor. That's the part that tells the TCM how fast the car is actually going. If that sensor is acting up, you can bet it's going to cause some weird shifting.
Or how about this one? Maybe you get a P0750. This is telling you there's a malfunction with shift solenoid A. These solenoids, they're basically tiny electronic gates that control the flow of fluid to make the gears change. And by the way, dirty fluid is one of the biggest reasons they fail. If one of them gets stuck or just dies, you can see why you'd get some harsh shifting, or maybe you can't get into a gear at all.
Now, sometimes the problem is deeper than just a simple sensor. These issues are less common for sure, but they are the potential burning building that our signal flare might be warning us about.
This could be a total failure of the TCM itself, the computer brain of the whole transmission. It could also be something as simple sounding as damaged wiring or some corroded connectors messing up the signals. And in the most serious cases, it could point to an internal mechanical failure, like worn out clutch packs, and that would mean a major repair, maybe even a full rebuild.
But here's a fantastic pro tip before you assume the absolute worst. All these computer modules, they need clean, stable power to work right. A weak battery or a failing alternator that's not putting out the right voltage can make these modules act all kinds of crazy and throw false codes. So always check the health of your electrical system.
So let's put it all together. Let's review your diagnostic roadmap. Step 1, scan with an advanced tool to get the real codes. Then, Step 2, always check your fluid first. It's the easiest thing and a super common issue. After that, use the specific code you found to guide your diagnosis. Check the wiring for any obvious damage, and hey, remember, for complex internal stuff, it's always best to get some professional help.
So here's the main takeaway. That P070 code isn't a dead end. It's not a final verdict. It is the very beginning of a logical diagnostic process. It is your starting line. The only question is, are you ready to begin the investigation?